Welcome back to the Credible Dev YouTube channel. Today we're going to be talking about website hosting and what I believe is your best option to host your website, whether that be WordPress, a standard plain HTML site, a React site, Node.js, whatever. This is going to be your best option in terms of price to performance, in my opinion, based on my own experiences with hosting many websites over the years. So let's go ahead and jump into it. And first, I want to say that for WordPress, if you look around online, a lot of people recommend Bluehost. And I actually did a test with my website by moving it to Bluehost recently. And I did that because at the time, the way that I had things set up on my Linode, I didn't really feel like I was getting the best performance out of it. And everybody kept recommending Bluehost, so I decided to switch it over there. It didn't last long for many reasons, but one of the biggest reasons was the performance. It was even worse than when I moved from a virtual private server on Linode to Bluehost, which is said to be incredibly fast for WordPress sites. Maybe it was something with my specific site, I'm not sure, but I couldn't get it to perform very well without having to throw on a crap ton of performance type plugins and things like that. And with the method I'm going to show you, you're not going to need a ton of plugins for a WordPress site to get it to perform well. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump into what we're going to be doing here. So you're going to need a Linode account. If you don't already have one, that's actually great, because if you use the link that I put down in the description, you can test this out for 60 days. They'll give you a $100 credit. So you could try this out completely free. I don't get any money from it right away. I only get money from it if you actually stay with Linode. Now, I think you have to spend $25 or something. Anyways, if you haven't signed up, consider using that link down there. You don't have to, but I appreciate it if you did. And if you already have a Linode, that's great too. We're going to be creating a new one here and going through the process step by step. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is get the account and log into it. And you'll be at a screen like this. This is your Linode dashboard. And on this dashboard, we're just going to go ahead and click on Create Linode. And we're actually not going to create a customized one like this. We're actually going to go to the marketplace, and we're going to go down here to popular apps. If you don't see it here, you can search for it, but we're going to be installing this CyberPanel. So we'll go ahead and click on that. We can click on this info tab, which will give us a little bit of info. And basically this is a control panel that's going to get installed over top of your Linux virtual private server that we're setting up on Linode. It's going to use open Litespeed, and the panel itself gives you the ability to like easily add a website, manage DNS, email, things like that. So you don't have to worry about configuring and setting up a mail server and SSL and all those types of things. It handles it for you. It's similar to cPanel if you've used hosting with other companies that use cPanel. It's similar. It's not exactly the same, but it gets the job done, and it's very easy to set up and get going. So we'll go to Marketplace. We'll select CyberPanel, and we'll scroll down the page here. And under Images, you can only choose from these sets of Linux distributions. And what I would suggest that you go with is the Ubuntu 20.04 here. This is one of their officially supported versions. I'm not even sure it's listed here, but I'm not sure 22.04 is officially supported by CyberPanel according to their website, but I would just go with the 20.04 for now. And then you're going to select a region which is closest to where you think your customers are going to be. That might be a difficult decision for you, but I would just go that route. Try to just guess. I mean, if most of your users are in the United States, I would just choose one that's closer to you, to be honest. But anyways, we'll go with Atlanta. I'm not in Atlanta, but it's probably the closest one to me. And then for the plan, you can do what you want here, but I would suggest, especially for starting out, unless you just have like a massive site that gets tons and tons of traffic, then I would probably start out with the 2 gigabyte, which is $10 a month. You can do this with the $5 a month plan too, and you can try it out, see how your website performs on the $5 plan, and then you can easily upgrade it from your Linode console later on if you need to. Now, downgrading, I actually have a blog post about how to downgrade one, but if you went with the 10 and you wanted to downgrade to the 5, you can certainly do that. It's a little bit more steps involved to downgrade, whereas with the upgrade, it's basically just like click and done. So anyways, we're just going to choose the $5 one here for this test. And you want to give it a name. It doesn't really matter what you put here, but I'm going to give it the domain that I'm going to assign to this, which is just a junk domain that I have. So we're going to change this label here to hang.com. That's my junk domain that I have. Now, like I said, this doesn't really matter what you put here. And you don't have to do anything with the tags unless you specifically want to. And we're going to give this a super secure password for the root account. SSH keys, you don't necessarily have to do something here, but if you already have existing SSH keys, you could add those. Backups, that's up to you, $2 a month. Private IP, most people are not going to need this. This will just be if you had multiple Linodes and you wanted to basically create like a private network between them, but most people aren't going to need that. So now we'll go ahead and hit create Linode. Now, when you create a normal Linode that's not from the marketplace like that, once you click on this create Linode, you'll see it provisioning and it'll boot up, and it's ready pretty quick. When you use something from the marketplace like this, especially more involved setup like CyberPanel is going to do, it's going to take a little while. And this status here, when it says running, yeah, it's running, but it's not technically ready for you to use yet. So we'll have to wait a little while, and I'll show you how to know when it's done. We'll go ahead and wait for this to start up here. Let's see. We can launch this Lish console and just see what it shows in here. So we can see nothing's really going on yet. And give it another moment for this to switch over to running. It's booting. Let's see if we can see anything on the console now. Nothing yet. But this console here is basically where we're going to monitor the progress of the CyberPanel install. So now we can see some activity here. And while you could go ahead and SSH into this beforehand, it's not going to do you a ton of good. You might as well just wait for everything to finish. It will take quite some time. So once it starts the process, right now it's just showing the standard Linux boot up. But once it starts the process of installing CyberPanel, I'm going to pause the recording here and then I'll come back when it's finished. But we'll wait for it to get started. It looks like it's starting to now, where it says updating system. Give it a couple more seconds here. All right, so that took a good 30 minutes or so on the $5 Linode. If you choose one of the higher end Linodes, it's probably going to go a bit faster, but when it's finished, you'll see something like this. It basically spits you back out to the terminal screen here, and that's how we know that we're ready to connect to it. So the first thing that you need to do is this SSH access. We're going to copy that, and then we're going to open up a terminal here, and we'll paste that in, and it'll ask us about verifying the fingerprint. We'll just say yes, that we want to continue connecting, and then we'll put in the password that we created for this Linode. And once we log in, we're going to get a little bit of information on the screen about how to connect to the CyberPanel. So you can see here that we have a link that we can either copy or paste, or depending on the terminal you have, you can hold down Control and click on that and it'll open it up as well. But before we do that, we need to get the admin password. This is going to be different than the password that you set up in Linode. And we're going to get that by running this command here, which is basically just reading the contents of this .litespeed password file. That's essentially what it's doing. And you can see there's another one here for the MySQL user password in case you need that. But you can also create additional SQL users and stuff like that once you get into the CyberPanel, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. So now it's, before we do that, it's asking if we want to update the system, and we'll just put a Y for yes. Of course, we're going to update it, but it should technically already be updated because it does a lot during those scripts and everything, so it really shouldn't have anything to do. So now it says, enjoy your accelerated CyberPanel server. So we'll paste in that command so we can get that admin password. And even though this password is a pretty strong password, it's pretty decent, I would definitely suggest changing it to something else. And like I said, we can Control click on this link, or you can copy and paste it, and you're going to get a certificate error, and that's okay. We'll hit accept the risk and continue, and that should take us to our CyberPanel page. Sorry, I can't talk. And then we'll paste in that password that we got, and we'll sign in. So this is the main CyberPanel dashboard. You can see you have a lot of options here, but the one that we're interested in is going to be setting up a website. And remember, I was using that junk domain hangperday.com. That's what we're going to set up here. So we'll click on websites and create a website. Select the package. The default package is fine. You can change the settings for the default package later, but generally it's fine. And we'll set the owner as the admin. We don't want a test domain. It's an extra subscription feature. Basically lets you kind of test out your site before you fully move it over. It's a neat feature, but it's something that you're going to have to pay additional for. So put in our domain here. So it was hangperday.com. And our email, we'll put in our email here. And our PHP version, you can select from any of these. We'll just select the latest version. And these additional features, SSL, of course, we want that. This one's going to be for email related stuff. The open base dir protection, you definitely want that. I believe it just prevents any type of PHP scripts from being able to access things outside of the website's actual folder, which is just added protection, something you definitely want. And then create a mail domain. So if you want email, you definitely want to check this box on this box. So we'll check those and we'll hit create website. And this will just take a moment to complete. And actually, while it's doing this, we'll go back to the Linode page, and this IP address, we'll go ahead and grab that from there. Because what we're going to want to do now is set up name servers. And that's how we're actually going to point the domain to this website. So go to wherever you have your domain registered, and this is going to be called probably different things depending on the register. But with Namecheap, you're going to go to this advanced DNS tab, and down here under personal DNS server, you're going to click on add name server. And in this drop down box, we're going to choose NS1, and we're going to put our IP address there and hit done. And then do it again. This time we're going to choose NS2 and put our domain name there. I looked up, I don't have GoDaddy, but they have a page about how to do this in GoDaddy, so you can probably Google whoever you have your domain registered through and find out exactly how to do what I just did. But this shows on GoDaddy that you would go to your domain portfolio, domain edit options, edit DNS, and then you have this option here for edit DNS, and select host names from the menu. So select host names, and then you're able to do what I just did there. So you would type in NS1 and then add the IP address. But if you have any questions about that, I might be able to look it up and help you figure it out. So anyways, after you have that set up, so you can see we have both of those here, you're going to want to go back and change your name servers to ns1 dot whatever your domain name was .com or whatever. So you can see I'd already done that here with ns1 and ns2. And like I said, this is what points our domain name to that server that we just created. So we'll go back over to the panel, and it looks like it's still going. I can definitely tell, just based on my own experience, there's quite a big difference in the speed of the $5 Linode and the $10 Linode. The $10 Linode has more RAM, and that probably plays a pretty big deal in the speed of the panel itself and it processing things. So like I said, you can try the $5 one and see how it performs for you, and then you can upgrade it later if you need to, or you can just jump to one of the other ones. And my website, the credibledev.com, it's hosted on a $10 one by itself, so I don't have other sites that are actively being used on that server. It's just that one WordPress site, and it works great, in my experience. So it looks like it's done here. So we'll go ahead and go to list websites over here on the left, and we see it here. One thing that you're going to want to do now, this may take some time because the DNS propagation with your name servers and the changes you made with the register and stuff like that, it takes a while for those changes to propagate sometimes. So you may want to allow it. It could be almost instantly for you. You might get lucky. It could be a couple of hours or more. So anyways, click on this issue SSL. And then once that completes, we'll try to open up the site here and see if I was lucky or not. But actually, there's one other thing after this gets done that we'll want to do to make sure that this SSL certificate works by default. Wow. So the $5 Linode is quite a bit slower because this typically doesn't take this long. And this is taking quite some time. Again, from my experience with the $10 one, that might be the one you want to go with and not try this with the $5 Linode unless you're okay with this panel being slow. Okay, so our SSL was successful. So now what we want to do is go into Manage and scroll down to Rewrite Rules. Here we want to force the SSL. So if somebody tries to come to the non-secure version on the site, it just forces them to the secure. And we'll hit Save Rewrite Rules. No. And another thing you can do, this is, preference really. If you want to force, like if somebody types www.yourwebsite.com, if you want to force them to the non-www version. So we'll go ahead and do that here. And we'll save that. Now we'll open up a new tab and we'll go to hangperday.com. And it looks like mine has not propagated yet. So we'll be back in a little bit once that's propagated to show you that it's working. So I got busy doing some other stuff for a little while, but come back to it, and now everything is replicated, so it's all good now. If you try to refresh your domain and you're getting this CyberPanel page, but you're not getting the lock, what you may need to do is come back to your CyberPanel, and you may need to reissue that SSL certificate. So you can come back to the list of websites and click on issue SSL again, and hopefully that'll resolve it for you. You can also kind of keep track of the propagation of the changes that you made for the name servers to see when maybe they're taking effect or how that's progressing anyway. You can put your domain name in a website like this, which is dnschecker.org, and you just put in your domain name and hit search, and this will show you what IP address is being returned from like all these different places. So initially, right when you make the change, you might see an old IP address that doesn't belong to your Linode, but after some time you should be able to check this again and they'll all be the correct IP. And I'd actually made a mistake earlier before I stopped the recording where I didn't have the right IP address for those name servers that I set up on Namecheap. So double check to make sure you set NS1 and NS2 to the right IP address, and that'll get you going. So at this point, you're ready to start building your website, you know, whether that's your standard HTML site or you have a React page you're going to upload. You can do a lot of that stuff from within this panel, just like you could in something like cPanel. So go to manage your site here, and you'll have an option for file manager. So you can go to this public HTML folder and put your files here. Let's go back. What else can you do in here? Your FTP account, you can set that up if you'd rather transfer your files that way. Your email accounts, you're actually going to set up in a different place. You go under email and you're going to go to create email and select the website that you're wanting to create it for and give it a username and password. You can do that there. Some other things that might be interesting to you are under PHP. If you need to install additional PHP extensions, pick which version that you're wanting to install these to, and then you'll get a list of extensions that you can install just by clicking these buttons, so you don't have to do anything from the actual console. You can just do it all from here. Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff. Databases, you can create your databases here. This package is like the hosting package. So this is going to decide how much disk space and bandwidth, like that kind of stuff, that you're going to give to the website. And like I said, in most cases, this default one is perfectly fine. You don't really have to change anything. If you'd like to edit the DNS settings for your site, you can go in here and you can go to add and delete records and select your domain, and then you'll have all the different record types so you can make whatever changes that you need to make. Another really cool feature is this Cloudflare button. So if you have a Cloudflare account, you can put your email in here, and then you can put your token in here that you'll get from Cloudflare, and then you can tell it to sync your local records to Cloudflare. And basically what that's going to do is just automatically put all of those DNS records into Cloudflare for you, and then you can enable Cloudflare by changing your name servers back at your register like Namecheap. You can change them to whatever name servers that Cloudflare tells you to put in there. So it makes it really nice. You can just add this in there. And once you have this linked up, any new websites that you add in here and issue a SSL certificate for will go into Cloudflare automatically. You just need to update the name servers to be the right ones. So that's a pretty cool feature. Something else that I suggest that you do is come in here and create a new user and don't use this admin account. And like I said, you can disable the admin account once you create another one. But if you don't do that, definitely change that password to something other than that default one that you got at the start of this. So that's pretty much it for this video. Like I said, this is my preferred way to host right now. The speed, definitely, if you don't use this 5 GB one or the $5 one, you go to the $10 one, it's great. You know, I have my site set up on this, very few plugins in there, because you're going to have a Litespeed cache plugin that you'll install anyways whenever you set up WordPress. And that's one thing I didn't show you, but if you go to the WordPress section here, you can buy an additional add-on to manage WordPress in here, like auto updating your plugins and all that kind of stuff. But you don't really need to do that. You can just come into your websites, list your site, go to manage, and down here at the bottom, you can automatically install WordPress plus that cache plugin. And that's going to make your site pretty fast already, because the Open Lightspeed server plus that caching plugin are great. And then if you add Cloudflare on top of that, it's even better. So anyways, if you're thinking about setting this up, like I said, there's a link down in the description for the Linode that'll get you $100 credit for 60 days. You can use that if you want. I'm not going to be mad if you don't, but I mean, why not try it out for free with like a test website just to see how it all works and whether you like it or not. But anyways, if you have any questions, you want to know how to do anything else with Linode or with websites, let me know down in the comments what kind of videos you want to see. And I appreciate you watching this video, and everybody have a great day. Thanks.